Welcome to Breakdown. It's Thursday, October 12th, 2023. JJ, are you ready to break down the SEC and the Big Ten?
You know, that's a little bit out of our wheelhouse, But I guess this time we can change it up and we can do that.
SEC and the Big Ten?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, let's do it. Hey, I'm slow today, JJ. So you're keeping me on my toes. JJ,
Yes, sir.
let's talk football.
Let's talk
Before we get into the football game, Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, Georgia, four undefeated teams, and there are other undefeated teams too. I think there's about 11 undefeated teams still out there right now.
Mm-hmm.
If you could take Michigan and Georgia as national champions against everybody else, would you take Michigan and/or Georgia winning it all versus the field? And why?
I would not do that for a couple of different reasons.
Okay, lay it on me.
One would be Penn State. I think they finally have a quarterback to match the surrounding pieces. I think Drew Aller is a bit of an upgrade over Sean Clifford. We'll see if by the season's end he can be a significant upgrade or not. But I think Penn State is a force to be reckoned with.
And Penn State defense has been out of sight this year.
Absolutely, their defensive line has been pretty good. And it's a few schools, but I would say the West Coast in general. Washington looks legitimate. Oregon might be legit. USC's defense is, it's not dynamite, but this might be a year where you don't need to have a dynamite defense.
So you're telling me it's not a shoe-in that either Michigan or Georgia will win it all this year?
Yeah, this year I might take the field.
Okay, all right, that's good enough. Well, let's get into.
What about you? What would you do?
I would always take the field against two teams, and always against one team especially. But two teams this early in the year, I would always take the field.
Okay.
I don't care who it is. This early in the season, well, we still got October, November to play out. That's a lot of football to left, so I'm taking the field. Injuries could happen.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? So that's me.
That's fair.
Wow. Any good games from last week that you want to talk about?
There were a few good games.
You want to go SEC? Because I got a couple in the SEC. You want to go SEC or Big Ten first?
We'll start off with the Big Ten. I would say Maryland and Ohio State started off as a good game for about 2.5 quarters.
It did.
Maryland was leading, but then, Ohio State did what they do and they pulled away and they covered. I'll say that was a pretty good game. Let's hear what games you're talking about in the SEC.
Oh, the big one, Alabama and going into College Station playing Texas A&M last week.
Yeah,
that was a big game. A lot of pressure on both teams.
Yeah, but you give me Nick Saban versus Jimbo Fisher, and I'm gonna take Nick Saban, and that's what happened.
Okay. Miro had a breakout game. Finally,
throwing the ball, he threw for over 300 yards.
Yeah,
I think 3 touchdowns.
I believe it was.
Yeah. He didn't run the ball, but he doesn't need to prove that. I mean, we've already seen it in his repertoire, so that was really good for him to have that chemistry with his number one receiver. His name escapes me right now, but that guy's a playmaker. He had like 197 yards, 321. So.
The other game in the SEC that I thought was a big game, and two undefeated teams.
Oh, you're saying
Georgia and Kentucky.
Well,
two undefeated teams played last Saturday.
They did play. That was not much of a game, though.
Indeed, it was not. Georgia won 50-something to 13, 51-13, I believe.
Yeah.
Mark Stoops, his coming after the game on his show, a fan called in.
Mark Stoops is the Kentucky head football coach.
Correct, yeah. A fan called in and said, when will Kentucky get over the hump? Something like that. I'm not exactly sure what he said. And Mark Stoops said, well, Georgia done bought a fine football and I'm paraphrasing. Georgia has bought a fine football team. I love our fans. If our fans pony up, we could buy a fine football team too. And that, as I said, I'm paraphrasing. What do you think about Mark Stoops asking the fans to pony up money for NIL so they could get players?
I think it's not a great look on a couple of different fronts. I think after you lose by that wide margin to Georgia, I don't think that's the time to be criticizing the fans for for not paying for something. I think expectations are a little bit different now. He makes over $8 million a year via his contract, and then he has the bourbon company that some people think pay him more than his college football contract. So he's doing pretty well in the state of Kentucky right now.
Maybe he should pony up.
Yeah, maybe he should. Maybe indeed.
Okay.
But I think it's a bad look on that front. I think it's another bad look on the front of the guys in the locker room who,
That's true.
probably are asking themselves,
Yeah.
like, because he could just say, we went out, we laid an egg, I believe in my guys. That won't ever happen again. Hats off to Georgia, but that was more about how we didn't prepare or whatever like that. But he took the road to kind of throw his players under the bus.
Yeah, I was about to say he threw his players under the bus. He threw the fans under the bus.
Yeah, like who are you trying to?
And, but he left the coaches blameless.
Yeah, not.
I mean, okay, but that was that one. JJ, did the real Georgia show up for that game? Is that the Georgia we will see in the future, or was the previous two games Georgia played? Was that the real Georgia? Will the real Georgia please stand up? Which is the real one?
I think Georgia's kind of been sleepwalking through. I mean, they won back-to-back championships. I know it was different players. Jalen Carter's not there anymore. N'Kobe Dean's not there anymore. Stetson Bennett's not there anymore. But a lot of those guys were. And they've kind of been sleepwalking through the season. I think once Kentucky showed up with a ranking next to their name, I think they were the first team that Georgia's played this season with a number next to their name. I think Georgia got up for that game. I think Georgia, I think Kirby Smart knows when and where to get Georgia up for games. And I think that was an opportunity. I think they wanted to showcase their talent and their ability in this season.
So that was the real Georgia.
Yeah, I think that's the Georgia that you see.
Okay. I tend to agree with you because you look at the talent. There's no real reason that Georgia should have semi-struggled against Auburn early in the year. There's just no reason. And I'm trying to think. They were down at halftime. South Carolina. They struggled against South Carolina and against Auburn.
Now, they did struggle against both of those teams, but once they played a ranked team,
They stepped it up.
they stepped it up. Yeah. And I thought you said you were going to talk about like the game, an exciting game. It's supposed to be like a game of the week from last week from the SEC. I thought you were going to talk about Missouri and LSU, the undefeated Missouri Tigers versus the LSU Tigers. Now that was a pretty good game, and Missouri coincidentally is not ranked, and Kentucky is, which I think is kind of ridiculous. I think the
at that time Missouri was undefeated. The game was a lot closer than the score. Missouri threw a pick six in the last some seconds to make the final margin double digits, but it never was like that. It was a close game. I agree with you.
Absolutely. Missouri was winning for a lot of the time. They had the best playmaker on the field at receiver. And LSU's quarterback, played Jaden Daniels. He played through injury. He had bruised ribs, and you could see him when he was jogging off the field, wincing and everything like that. But he was still running and throwing and hanging in the pocket, playing very, very good football. So Missouri and Kentucky are playing each other this week, and that is a good way
to this week's
move
game.
into this way. That's a good way to segue it. That's one of the best games of the SEC.
2 teams with 1 loss.
Yeah, 2 1-loss teams.
Yeah.
It's at Kentucky. Kentucky, I believe, is favored.
And what say JJ?
Well, Kentucky is favored, but I think Missouri might have a better team this year. I think they have the better quarterback.
I think they have the better quarterback.
They have the better receiver.
A better receiver. I think Kentucky has the better overall team, and they're the home team.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that one. They are the home team.
Yeah.
But the running game, normally Ray Davis and Kentucky are gonna be the best running game on the field.
True.
But maybe the best transfer in the SEC is Missouri's running back. So I think that they're a little even on that respect, and I trust the quarterback play. Quarterback for Missouri will run it and throw it, and Kentucky's quarterback is supposed to, who's renowned for all his accuracy, has been anything but this year.
Yeah.
And he won't run. So I'm gonna go with Missouri to pull the upset over Kentucky.
Okay, I'm gonna go with Kentucky. Let's talk about one other SEC game that I kind of like. A&M going into Tennessee.
Yeah.
Tennessee, 1-loss team. A&M, 2-loss team. How you see that game? And why?
I see that game as kind of two teams that are mirror images of one another. Tennessee's going to have a lot more losses this year than they did last year. The quarterback play has been a step down from Hendon Hooker. And the receivers his playmakers have been a step down as well. But I think, Joe Milton III, he turns the ball over. But I think Texas A&M's quarterback, Max Johnson, does the same thing. He doesn't protect the ball well enough. I think that
he's only started one game.
Yeah, he's only started one game, but he came in relief from the other game and won that.
I'm sorry, he started two games.
Yeah, he started 2 games. But I think they're very similar teams, and I think it's going to be in Knoxville, so I'm going to go with Tennessee.
Okay. I actually think A&M is the better team.
Okay.
But I think Tennessee might win. Go figure. I don't know how I reached that conclusion, but that's my thinking. JJ, as far as I'm concerned, no. I'm going to talk really quickly about one other game in the SEC. It's not a big game, but it's a game that's dear to my heart.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, what am I talking about?
You must be talking about LSU versus Auburn, huh?
Okay, Arkansas.
The Tigers versus the Tigers, right?
Arkansas going into Tuscaloosa.
Yeah.
Arkansas offensive coordinator, Dan Enos. Mm-hmm. He knows Nick Saban very, very well.
He does.
He played for Saban as a quarterback at Michigan State. Mm-hmm. His first year, Saban was still at Michigan State. Enos' first year at Michigan State, Saban was still there. He was Alabama's quarterback coach the year they lost to Clemson in the national championship game, Dan Enos. And now he's the offensive coordinator at Arkansas. Can he pull a surprise on Nick Saban?
Arkansas has not had luck with that in the past 16 or 17 years, however long it's been. Arkansas has been in a bit of a free fall. They've lost 4 games in a row. They're not playing at the best of their capabilities right now. And I think, after this, it gets a little bit easier. But in this game, I'm going to pick Alabama.
Okay. So, Enos can't beat his old coach.
Not when that coach is Nick Saban, no.
Okay. How about the Big Ten, JJ?
Yeah, let's go to the Big Ten.
Okay. Any interesting games from last week?
I mean, we talked about, Maryland hanging with Ohio State already.
That's true.
Any interesting? Michigan just stomped out.
And you know what? Michigan is playing great, but none of their games really interests me. They haven't played a game that kind of grabs my attention.
Well, to end the season, they played Penn State, Maryland, and Ohio State in 3 consecutive weeks, so that should do it, right?
I look forward to it. But this week, JJ, what's the biggest game in the Big Ten?
Biggest game in the Big Ten
is on the West Coast.
Yeah, the biggest games in the Big Ten are not currently members of the Big Ten. We'll get to those games, but I think if we're talking about strictly 2023 Big Ten teams,
yes, sir.
If we want to stick to that, I think you would agree that would be Iowa versus Wisconsin.
The West, the Big Ten West.
Yeah, this might be the last year of the divisions, such as they are, but
both teams were one loss. Wisconsin lost to Washington State. Iowa lost to Penn State.
Yeah, Iowa has a conference loss.
Every game that Iowa has scored any points at all in this year, they've won.
Yeah.
So if they score, they tend to win, JJ.
Yeah, that might run out of steam at some point. But, I mean, you never knows with Brian Ferentz. And
I was going to ask about the quarterback, Cade McNamara.
Yeah, so he tore his ACL. He's out for the season.
He's out for the season. Oh, man, that's a big one.
That's a big one. So they have a backup quarterback whose name escapes me.
And this game is going to be at Wisconsin.
It's at Wisconsin. He threw for 110 yards last week.
That's not that great.
Against Purdue. They still won. I think 97 of those yards went to Eric All, the tight end. And, Iowa is tight end U. Yeah. Sam Laporta, Greg Kittle, all those guys, Noah Fant. Yeah. I mean, they do make tight ends. C.J. Hawkinson.
True.
Eric All might be the next line of tight ends, but unfortunately for the receivers, I cannot imagine playing a receiver for University of Iowa.
So the winner of this game kind of take charge of the West, the Big Ten West.
Because of Purdue, Illinois, and Minnesota just falling flat on their face. Yeah, you're right about that. That's
I think you
pretty
left
much
out
out.
Northwestern.
Well, yeah, Northwestern. They were gone before the season
That's
started.
true. That's true.
I mean, right now they're facing what $130 million lawsuit from their former coach.
That's true. That's true.
But that's another story.
Okay. Any other game in the Big Ten?
Absolutely not.
You know
I mean,
what?
maybe Michigan State Rutgers
That's
is,
what I was gonna
is
say.
somewhat
I was
is
gonna
going to be competitive.
That's one that I'm looking forward to.
Yeah.
Rutgers is a favorite in that game.
Yeah, as they should be.
Michigan State's coming off a bye.
Yeah.
Uh,
There's the
Can
QB
Michigan State-
controversy. Like, there's, breakdown in the locker room. Everybody's being recruited by other coaches at this point, realistically.
yeah.
Yeah, so they're in disarray. They're in shambles, as the kids are saying these days.
This is the perfect opportunity to come back.
Yeah,
Perfect opportunity. Perfect opportunity for the Spartans to get a huge win. This game is going to be at Rutgers in New Jersey.
Piscataway.
If Michigan State win, things might turn around. Michigan State has lost 3 in a row. 3 in a row. This is it. This is the opportunity. That's just my take on it. No other Big Ten game really stand out for me.
Yeah, all the other Big Ten games that stand out for me are teams that will be in the Big Ten next year, but these are all Pac-12 teams.
So let's hear those games.
USC is going to South Bend to play Notre Dame. USC is a future member of the Big Ten, and Notre Dame might be as well. That's a big game.
Notre Dame is favored in that game.
As they should be.
Wait a minute.
No, USC has no defense. They
They
almost
got a
lost to Colorado. They
got
almost
a
lost.
high-powered offense.
Yeah.
They were up on Colorado by about 20 points or more.
And then they were up by 7, and they were driving. So anyway, that's a good game. Also, we have Oregon going to Washington. No,
that is
the game of the week.
Game.
Washington is the home underdog.
You know what? And I agree. Washington leads the nation in passing offense. Total offense, they lead the nation. Their offense is just doing it. Their offense is doing it. But Oregon has both an offense and a defense.
Yeah, but their offense is led by Bo Nix, and who knows if he's really can be reliable on the road. I mean,
they say they got poster signs all over Oregon for touting him for Heisman.
Yeah, and that's gonna work out interestingly for them.
Joey Harrington has remembrance of that.
And Bo Nix, I could see having a similar.
Okay, so
professional career.
who did you say you got in that game?
I got Washington. I'm gonna ride with Michael Penix.
I like Penix,
Yeah,
but I like Oregon better. I like their overall team.
Washington's gonna cover and win the game straight up. And the final Big Ten to be game, is one future Big Ten team in UCLA going up against one of the 2 left behinds in Oregon State.
Oregon State is playing well this year.
They're playing well. This game is in Corvallis, and I believe their fans are going to let UCLA know how they feel about them.
Yes, sir.
Deciding to break down their conference. And Oregon State is a big favorite in that one, and I got Oregon State covering pretty well.
I do too. JJ, we about to get out of here. There's more you want to talk about? I got one thing, but go ahead.
No. That's about it.
I want to talk about something that's neither a Big Ten nor an SEC. I want to talk about Miami last week. Who were they playing? They had the game won, fourth quarter.
Georgia Tech,
right. They had the game won, fourth quarter, 26 seconds to go. Get in the victory formation, touch it. Georgia Tech's out of timeout, touch your knee to the ground, you win. What'd they do?
They were trying to get their running back over 100 yards.
They give the ball to their running back. He fumbles. Georgia Tech recovers the fumble. 3 plays later, Georgia Tech win the game with 1 second left in the clock.
Yeah, that's the football karma that Miami deserved.
Miami was undefeated. They would be undefeated today had that not happened.
Well, that, as Jen Bielema would say, is #karma.
Okay. JJ, did we leave anything out?
That's all I got for this week.
Okay, our work is done here. You ready to get out of here?
I'm ready, man.
Let's get out.
Who dey?
WPS. Beat them Tide people.